I also have the pleasure of introducing Matt Charney. Matt, could you give everyone a wave, please?
Thank you.
Matt is the man, and he is the Managing Editor of RecruitingBlogs. For those of you who might not know, Matt has significant street cred, having been a recruiter at Walt Disney years ago, giving out those Mickey Mouse hats and such, right?
Yeah, to the controllers of the business units, yes.
He's also a grad of the Writing for Screen and Television program at the University of
Southern California.
Wow, I can't even read my own handwriting. He's one of the 50 most popular recruiting influencers on Twitter, a top 40 under 40 HR blogger, and of course, the most important, he is an HRO Today superstar. So please welcome Matt today. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the least work I've done for applause ever, so it is much appreciated. And I'm really, really excited today. We have some great companies presenting here, and I do not envy the judge's task, having done it the last three times now as a judge, moving to the MC side. We're going to operate this a little bit differently this year in terms of judging than previous ITalent competitions. The format is not changing. Each of these companies have 7 minutes to present, and they have a hard cutoff at 7 minutes. So if mid-sentence, it's done. That said, here's how voting is going to work. We have created a fund called the HRO Fund. Each of these fine judges has been given 100,000 shares that they can allocate into the companies who are presenting. The only two rules are that they have to give all 100,000 shares to the companies, and they cannot give 20% to all five, so no ties or hedging. The buy sheets will be collected, and the orders will be maintained by the people who have the most shares of investment in their company. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce our judging panel. They're very impressive. And if you could just stand up and acknowledge the room. First off, we have Bill Phillip, who is the founder and managing director of Delancey Street Partners. Next, we have last year's iTalent competition winner and returning as a judge emeritus, Mr. Andrew Godomsky, founder of Aspen Advisors and adjunct professor at NYU. Next, we have Elaine Orler. She is the founder and chairman of the Talent Board, founder and president of the Talent Function Group, and is an amazing advocate for candidate experience and throughout the industry. So welcome, Elaine. Next, we have Ilya Broman. Ilya is the advisor and board observer for Co-Founders Lab, the managing director at Talent Equity Ventures, and the practice leader for government and nonprofit sector at Ward Howell. So welcome, Ilya. And last, but certainly not least, Debbie Bulla, executive editor, Share Expertise. The order for this has been randomly drawn. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to the first presenter. I'd like to welcome Mike Hennessy, founder and CEO of Smashfly Technologies.
Okay. We started? Okay. Hi, my name is Mike Hennessy. I'm the founder and CEO of Smashfly Technologies, and it's great to be here. A little bit about my background. I was the founding chief architect at a company there we go. I was the founding chief architect at a company formerly known as Brass Ring, more recently known as Connexa, and now known as IBM. Me and my team built the first 4 versions of their enterprise talent management system. And then I went on to found Smashfly in January of 2007 with a specific focus on this space that we're calling recruitment marketing. We've been at it now for about 7 years. What I can tell you is that having spent 10 years helping innovate and evolve the ATS into the talent management systems we've had today, it's my strong belief that recruitment marketing will have a bigger impact on the recruiting industry and how companies effectively recruit going into the future. So I am super excited about this space. I'm excited to be here to introduce total recruitment marketing. So at Smashfly, we have a vision, pretty simple one, and that's to drive business success through total recruitment marketing. We think if you ask a CEO one simple question, what is the one thing you can do to have an impact on your company's success? What do you think that they would say? I think they'd say hiring the right people. Now, this has been true since the beginning of recruiting, but I think what's fundamentally changed is the world we live in. We live in a hyper-connected world. We live in a world where everybody has a digital footprint. So what that means is you all can be known. So the game has changed. It's the challenge now is the companies that have the best technology, the best people, and the best process to find those candidates wherever they are, to attract those candidates to their opportunities, and fundamentally engage with them so that when the right opportunity comes up and they're delivering those to their recruiters, those are the companies that are going to win. And we believe that this is the recruiting challenge that's going to drive recruiting innovation for the next 5 to 10 years. So this is a challenge that's facing all organizations. And I think the question you have to ask yourself is, what is your strategy for dealing with this huge challenge in front of you? Do you have a strategy? If you don't have a strategy, you cannot be proactive. You're going to be stuck in reactive mode, always buying point solutions for the problem of the day. I need a CRM system. I need a job posting. Wait, it's social, it's mobile. You're going to end up with a bunch of disparate systems that don't speak to each other, that don't solve the underlying problem. We think this is a huge challenge, and we think it calls for a new approach. It calls for a new technology platform. So what's the answer? Our answer is total recruitment marketing. Now, this isn't just about technology. This is about technology, it's about people, it's about processes, new skills. We're advocating here for a new discipline in the recruiting function. Now, the easiest way we can explain this is to compare it to sales and marketing. Sales and marketing are two distinct disciplines, but they have the same ultimate goal, and that is to sell more product. Now, companies figured out a long time ago that having salespeople do everything from being able to find the leads, to qualify the leads, to do the selling is inefficient. So marketing was introduced as a discipline with the sole function of delivering qualified leads to salespeople. It's a better model. So if we jump over to the recruiting side, recruiting is tasked with hiring the best candidates. But again, recruiters have been involved with, we got to find the candidates, we got to get the qualified candidates, they're doing everything. We think in this hyper-connected world, it's driving the need for a new discipline. And that new discipline is recruitment marketing, with a specific focus on driving qualified candidates to your recruiters. More qualified candidates to your recruiters will lead to more quality hires, which we know will drive and have an impact on your company's success. So if that's the model going forward, and we believe it will be, we're confident it will be, how do you implement it? What does it look like? This is where technology comes into play. You need a technology platform built from the ground up to solve that specific problem of bringing people and processes together to deliver those qualified candidates. So a recruitment marketing platform is going to help you market and socialize your jobs to candidates wherever they are. And it's not just about your jobs. It's about your other employment initiatives, your branding, your culture, campus, military, diversity. It's not just about filling positions for today. It's about building up that talent pipeline of engaged, qualified candidates for the future. Once they click on your ads, the platform is going to help you elevate your message. It's about giving the right targeted message to the right candidate at the right time. And that's going to increase attraction. They're going to be more interested in your company and what you have to say. And that ultimately will lead to better engagement. These first 3 steps are all about one thing, getting candidates to engage with your company and stay engaged so that when that right opportunity comes up, you're delivering those qualified candidates to your recruiters. And here's the most important part of a platform, and that's the ability to measure every step along the way. Recruitment marketing is an iterative process. So when you give your team the data and the analytics, they will find the bottlenecks in the process. And with some changes, they'll get better and better and better at delivering those qualified leads to your recruiters. So when you have everybody on the same page, what you're going to end up with is The tool is going to provide the right tools and data for each person so they can be more effective. Your recruiters and sources will be able to dive into those talent pipelines and be able to be more proactive with those candidates. It's going to deliver micro visibility for your recruitment marketing specialists so they can see down at the job and campaign level what's working and what's not working so they can be more effective. And it's going to give It's going to give macro visibility across your entire recruiting strategy. So your senior talent acquisition team can start making changes at the strategy level based on data and analytics, not anecdotes. So what does this look like in terms of what is the impact it has on your recruiting results when you implement this type of methodology? In one word, dramatic. Companies like CH2M Hill, CDW, McGraw-Hill Financial, and Cheesecake Factory, among others, are seeing these real-world metrics. They're being able to drive better decisions, better overall performance, they're finding new ways to source candidates, and they're reducing cycle times. So it's an exciting time to be in the recruiting industry, and no matter where you are in the process of facing this challenge, Smashfly can bring together the technology, the people, and the process to help you start implementing recruitment marketing in your own organization today. Thank you very much.
That was an amazing amount of information in 6 minutes, 42.86 seconds.
I got it underneath.
That was well done. No, stay up here for a second.
Oh, okay.
So first off, let's give some applause to Smashfly. And I'll turn it over to our panel of judges for questions.
I had one question. Mike, really nice presentation. You got a great background, high credibility. I love the space. Plays into employment branding and proactive, flow-driven kind of origination and kind of building a community. More of a VC question for you, though.
Okay.
Give me the single thing that you would convey to me in terms of getting market traction. What's the catalyst for you to really take this to the next level? And if don't talk about financial numbers, but I'm measuring you in terms of revenue. And like, what's the catalyst to really breaking out as a company?
Well, I think it's, really the message, the big part is the messaging of having companies understand what the opportunity and the challenges are in front of them. And so if you go and talk to the Fortune 1000 companies and you ask them where their pain points are, all of those myriad solutions are there, right? So the traction is getting in front of them and saying there is a better way of doing this, and with people and process, you can put this in place and here's the results. When you start doing that, I can tell you that our message is resonating across the market in terms of this is broken, we need something to fix it. And so, if it's about going out to the go-to-market strategy, it really is about, listen, we need to get this in front of everybody. We're here today talking about this because a lot of people don't know, that what's available. So I think that's the biggest number one thing is getting people educated on here's how you can do things better. And once they see that, they're on board.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Andrew.
So another investment question. Tell us about your control around intellectual property that protects you from replication, competition, or quite honestly, just traditional SaaS coming into this space and taking market share from you.
Yeah, we do have a patent pending on one of our pieces of technology, but that's not how we're going to win. I think we're going to win across the board in terms of differentiation across all of the channels. So product is obviously key, but it's also customer success. It's the engagement with the customers. It's how we sell. It's how we do business. It's how we market. So could somebody else try to come in and replicate it? They'd have to replicate a lot of different things. So I think our strength is on product and customer success, and we kind of feel like we do that better. If you look at the team at Smashfly, we have all of the key players that have been in this space and know how to build a SaaS-based enterprise system from Taleo and Connects and other places that I think is going to be very hard to replicate.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next, please welcome to the stage Joanna Weidmuller, who is the CEO and co-founder of the One Page Company.
Hello. Great. Hi, thanks so much for having me, and this is great. The room's continuing to fill out, so thank you all for being here. I am Joanna Weidmuller. I'm the CEO of One Page. We are a Silicon Valley-based company that is actually the next generation talent acquisition company that's based on really gamifying talent acquisition. So we're not so much on the data analytics side, which is going to be an interesting thing for you guys. So One Page actually tackles things a little differently. What we do is, in layman terms, we actually turn the traditional hiring process of job descriptions and resumes on its head. So instead, we put out challenges that are specific to the role the candidate's applying, and candidates actually have to compete to solve the challenge to win the job at the company. We also leverage natural language processing and text analytics to rank candidates based on their ability to actually match the needs of the company and the capability of the candidate. I'm going to explain how we do that. So One Page is actually different. When I have a really unique background, which is part of the reason I don't think that resumes are necessarily the best way of assessing candidates, but I was in the FBI, recruited right out of college, and then I actually I became an entrepreneur. I left the bureau and I started a company, which I sold by the time I was 24, and I moved to China for 5 years, and I built another company that I exited. And when I went into HR, I did it based on a book that our whole company is based on. It's called the One Page Proposal. My co-founder wrote it, and when we went into tackling HR, I said, well, why would we build this system in a box? Why don't we build this system with all the people that actually know about the problem around the table? So seriously, we sat around the table with 30 of the top HR experts from companies, as you see here, Avon, Disney, Amex, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Hershey, and we literally pulled up systems and we're like, where is the problem and how do we solve this? So we actually built this for HR, so for you, with you. We didn't want to go at this saying, okay, we're going to go and try and fit it into your world. How do we fit it in? And it's what's allowed us to go to the market and be successful. So the 3 opportunities that One Page really came in and tackled, we saw there was a big decline in actually resume-centric hiring. Companies now, well, there's 6.8 billion resumes sent to 5 million companies. So how are they at all able to identify the great talent? On top of that, a lot of the great CEOs of the world, we did a test where we took actually some of the resumes of the top CEOs of, let's see, we had Larry Ellison, we had Richard Branson, we had Ralph Lauren. We actually put their resumes and updated them in today's terms, and we put them through their applicant tracking systems, and everyone was rejected. And so we realized that you might be missing someone if it was just the resume-centric hiring. On top of that, there's this big rise of millennials. Actually, soon they're going to be 75% of the global workforce. But how do we attract the millennials? Millennials are attracted to go to companies that actually listen to their ideas. That's why they're also starting companies. So why not challenge them and engage them right from the beginning by asking for their ideas and their ability to solve the company's problems? In order for companies to innovate, they have to ask for those up front. And also, this is the last point, need for innovation. Today, companies have to change as fast as change. Where does that change come from? It comes from outside in. With the open innovation movement, we realized there was a perfect coupling between innovation, sourcing innovation from that initial standpoint, as well as internal promotion. So what does One Page do? We're actually a new system of engagement. This is a great way of actually explaining what we do. A new system of engagement to source unmatched predictive data for enhanced decision-making on talent. That's a lot of mumbo-jumbo and buzzwords. What that means is, instead of only looking at data based on past of candidates, all of our data looks at forward-looking. We match the company and the problem and the solution. So we do that 4 basic steps. Challenges are created and delivered. I'm going to go through these with you in a sec, but challenges are created and delivered. Candidates respond with job proposals. We also have an auto-scoring system that is, I'll go through it with you in a sec. And then the top talent is identified. We also provide back all the analytics. So when a company not only puts out to hire someone, they don't only receive great talent, they also receive all the ideas and the information. So we actually crowdsource that information saying, yes, you're going to hire 1 or 2 of these people, but this is how you go to market. Here are your competitors. Here are your potential partners. Here are the biggest financial opportunities for you that you can go into, and here are the talent that are going to be able to make that possible. Challenges are created and delivered. We turn job descriptions into real-time challenges based on business needs and strategic objectives of the role. When we onboard companies, we ask them, what's the department goal and what's the company goal? And then with that, what we're able to do with the job description, we're able to create a library of challenges. They can click on any of the sections and go ahead and edit them. But the challenges are typically something around, how are you going to increase market share by 40%? How are you going to attract a millennial generation to get them into the stores? How are you going to be able to do turnaround on customer service, better personal interaction, as well as direct relationships with customers? And so it's really taking the problem of the company. Second step is candidates compete with job proposals. So we engage candidates actually not through a process of, hey, refill out your resume. Instead, it's something like, here's your challenge. Now, go ahead and solve the challenge. And really, the main things that they come back with is, what's a unique idea to solve your challenge? What's happening in the market? So who are the competitors and who are potential partners? What is the biggest financial gain the company is going to see by hiring you? And what your background allows you to be qualified for this specific job? Not what is your background? And then we do include the existing resume or LinkedIn profile. The third step is the collaborative auto scoring. So as I said, we leverage natural language processing. That we have about 6 patents behind this entire process. But we measure 3 things. Have they identified the right strategy? So have they identified the right strategy in the match? Do they understand who the competitors are and the potential partners? As well as, does their background allow them to handle the same demands of the job of the role that they're actually applying right now? And this is the last part. This is kind of my favorite part. I'm a CEO. We never have time to read anything, but neither does a department head, neither does really anybody. So what is the main point of all of this information? Now, we show live what's happening on candidates. Who is writing it, how long it's taken them, how often they've started and stopped it, who's completed it, and who's still writing, who's reading, and who hasn't even opened up their one page, or opened up the challenge. After that, what we show is we actually show you all the top ideas that came across. We can do it by department. We can do it based on market. We also show who the companies mentioned, and we break it down into competitors and partners. And then any of the word cloud, what we do, we can click on any of those words and cross-reference them so that all the proposals that mention those topics will show up. On top of that, we can change the auto scoring based on the priority.
Yeah, it's time. Thank you. Joanna, if you want to hang out for a minute. You want to hang out for a minute for Q&A? Questions, please.
No.
Investors.
I guess I had one question that seems to have a lot of parallels to how you kind of jumpstart a job board and the difference between having the jobs and having the talent. And it's always a chicken or egg kind of thing. Can you talk about a little, how do you drive adoption on the seeker side, on the people side?
So we integrate with every existing applicant tracking system and sourcing platform. So once those candidates come through on that applicant tracking system, we immediately send them back the challenge. So right now, I mean, we have clients that are typically handling about 20,000 resumes a week. Right there is where we engage. So we found that was the biggest problem.
Got it. So you push it out through the applicant tracking for the reg path. Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We can do it. Funny enough, First Republic Bank is one of my clients. They don't have an applicant tracking system for those that have one. But in that situation, that's just we'll handle the entire process for them.
Thank you.
How are the hiring managers, the supervisors, the people who are reading these reports? What has been their response to making decisions this way versus a more traditional resume-oriented decision process?
It's a great question. I got cut off, but one of our things was the biggest thing that they saw was we were able to actually drop the turnover across the board for our clients by 75%. And we also dropped the cost of hiring by 70%. And so when it comes to how well they're actually reading this and understanding it, they're seeing it in addition to the resume. So not only is that a first kind of reference pool, but having the proposal, it says this is how you're going to prioritize who you're going to interview and who you're going to spend your time with. And so for the HR managers, it actually looks as, they came back and they're showing much better candidates that are actually staying in these companies to the hiring managers. So staffing managers now, instead of saying, I've selected these that I've dedicated 4 seconds to reviewing their resumes through a massive pile, instead it's saying, these are the best candidates, and on our system, it's a full collaborative system, so they can go ahead and anyone that's assessing it, hiring managers and staffing managers can all comment, and it's all live.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Joanna. The hits just keep coming. Next, we have Joe Essenfeld, who is the founder and CEO of Jibe.
Yep. Thanks. All right. I'm Joe Essenfeld, CEO and founder of Jibe. Jibe started in 2009 actually as a job board. So we started as a service that was targeted towards job seekers, and because of that, we had to focus on candidate experience from day one. We built in social connections for job applications that went directly to an ATS. That was a differentiator about 5 years ago for us. And we learned a valuable lesson about how difficult applicant tracking systems are to navigate for companies. And because of this difficulty, we very quickly evolved as a company. We went from a consumer-based job board to an enterprise SaaS solution. And with this enterprise solution, we wanted to take standard career sites that were so dependent on the applicant tracking system to actually convert that job seeker to an applicant and simplify that experience. So our client base are Fortune 1000 companies. We have over 70 clients now. We're up to 80 employees. We're based in New York City. We also have offices in Washington, D.C. So what our platform does is it actually sits on top of the applicant tracking system and fills holes. So when you apply to a job at some of our clients like American Express or Walmart, and you're on a mobile phone, that experience is powered by Jibe. And that application data goes directly into the ATS, whether it be Connexa, Taleo, SuccessFactors. And because we're sitting at the top of this funnel, we have the ability to extract very valuable information and analytics. And as a result of this, we developed an analytics platform last year and launched it at HR Tech, and we call it Recruiting Analytics. Pretty basic. And it's part of our recruiting intelligence platform. So today, I wanted to take the time just to quickly go over what this platform does and why we think it's so special and can make such a huge impact for large employers that are making a significant amount of hires around the world. So the first thing is we surveyed lots of recruiters and talent acquisition executives just to verify what we keep hearing. When people complain about their ATS and complain about process and reporting, we want to see what the actual data was. So we found out it takes about 22 hours a month for a TA executive to actually assemble data to understand what's going on. That just didn't seem to make sense. You have a highly compensated executive wasting their time aggregating spreadsheets when they should be looking at data, making decisions, and driving their business forward. And even when they did that, they're still missing the full picture, where 75% said data integrations were lacking. So there was a gap in their Avature CRM, connecting to their Taleo ATS, connecting to their TMP-powered career site. And they're not seeing the full picture. And then, of course, limited access. When you're working with this spider web of vendors that exists today for large enterprises, it's very hard to coordinate all that data together. So just to illustrate this problem, we've had some fun making some animations. Where we typically see this set up for our clients. You've got a career site that can be run by an agency or run by in-house. You've got a CRM that can be an Avature solution, an out-of-the-box solution, a custom solution. You've got an ATS like a Taleo or a Connexa. And then sometimes you even have a data warehouse, and that data warehouse can feed up to other analytics platforms like Visier. But then you have this talent acquisition department sitting in the middle and having no idea where to get this data from, how to aggregate it. And this is important things to track, like where you're getting your hires from, what are the sources, how effective is Glassdoor? We know it's a great source, but does that talent acquisition executive know that? Probably not. Are they getting return on investment on that $2 million career site they just built? How many people are visiting on a monthly basis? So all this information is just kind of aggregated out into these disparate systems. So how do we bring it all together? Because currently, for most of our clients, it's just totally impossible to work with. So this is what we built. We built a real-time recruiting analytics platform that has leveraged the knowledge and IP we've built over the past 5 years of working with applicant tracking systems. So this allows recruiters, talent acquisition executives, hiring managers to log in and have access to all their different systems in one place. So I'm giving a live demo, which is usually a little bit risky, but I'm going to roll with it. So what we have here is our initial dashboard. This is a screen that recruiters can customize and put their most important widgets right in front of them. So if you want to see visitors, you can actually see who's visiting your site in real time, where they're coming from, what jobs they're applying to, and what they're looking at on your site. So what's really innovative about this platform is the access to real-time data that's relevant to you as a recruiter. So we can know what jobs you're associated with, what recs you're associated with, and what data is going to be relevant for you to see. We can even surface things like how people are uploading their resume. So you can see the effectiveness as your LinkedIn campaign driving more LinkedIn profiles. And as we hammer down to some more of the granular analytics, you can also see how the application flow works. So this can give you a specific idea of where engineers are falling off on your platform. So if I look at, let's say, Washington, D.C., a job campaign I launched there, I can see how many applications were started for this campaign, how many people dropped off at the resume upload, the work history, and how many people completed these applications. So if I have a hard-to-fill position, I can modify my job application now with hard data to understand exactly how to optimize that, to minimize that drop-off, and optimize my conversion. Even more valuable, we can now extract this information from your hiring process. So if I know we have a sales hiring season that's about to kick off, I can look at how many people are in my pre-screening phase, phone interviews phase, in-person interview, and to offer made. So now as a talent acquisition executive, I can do predictive analytics in terms of how many people I'm most likely going to hire based on who's in my pipeline right now. And this data exists in all different systems. It's extremely hard to get at. A lot of times you have to bring in outside expertise to extract that data and make reports. And it's not convenient for recruiters and hiring managers to access. And the last piece on this platform is sources. So because this is responsive, it's just an awesome use case we hear where we have clients be in a meeting where their boss will say, okay, we're spending $1 million this year on Indeed. How many hires did I get? How many visits is this driving to my site? You literally have this information on your smartphone, your tablet, or your computer. So overall, Jibe has a recruiting intelligence platform that is job applications, that's employee referrals, and then, of course, is powered by analytics on the back end. So combining this with your current applicant tracking system solution really provides a full view for large companies to really take control of their talent acquisition. That's my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions for Joe?
I have one. Could you tell me, I like what you're doing a lot. It's a huge trend. Just if I'm purchasing your solution, just what's the hardest ROI component? If you talk about the return on investment, if I'm putting out dollars, where do I get most of my return on investment?
So we look at it a little bit differently. We start most of our conversations with clients about mobile. It's a massive gap for applicant tracking systems, and our platform fixes that for them by giving a mobile job application process, as well as analytics on the mobile platform. So just enabling that is such a gap for them now, the ROI is almost immeasurable. But if you want to look at hard calculations, you can look at our source tracking. And just to be able to measure, if your media budget for most of our clients is $2 to $4 million, just to be able to effectively track that, see where the dollars are going and reallocate it, typically repays for the solution just itself.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What are the greatest barriers for adoption for your clients when they decide to use your system or your competitor's system?
So in terms of barriers of them picking us or barriers for setting it up?
For setting it up.
Setting up? Yeah, I think that the ATSs have an antiquated view on technology. They're looking at it as a walled garden, closed marketplace. And because of that, integrations become difficult. And it involves some work sometimes from the IT departments internally. And there's some sophistication with those, with integrating with those ATSs properly. Because you're dealing with such sensitive data, that typically is the biggest barrier. But luckily, with the 70 clients we have, we've got a lot of experience in how to communicate, how to do that effectively. We'd love to see more of a Salesforce approach where there's more of a marketplace. I think that would serve the market very well.
Business intelligence platforms have a history of poor engagement and adoption by the user base. I mean, we know that personally, right? So, yeah. I'm curious on what your strategy is to achieve adoption greater than 50% of your users.
Yeah, well, I think that we're not at a business intelligence level yet. We're not necessarily answering business questions automatically with this platform. We're providing very valuable metrics. So these are reports that are right now being manually generated and being mandated that they have to be generated. So we're first making that task easy. So the immediate quid pro quo is use Jibe Recruiting Analytics and simplify your day-to-day job. So that helps engagement right there. And then as we build out, we have to see where they're using the platform, and then can layer in some more BI and hopefully keep that engagement high and make the information more sophisticated that we're delivering.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jibe.
Thanks.
Next, we have Ms. Lauren Court, who is the Director of Channel Sales for Glassdoor.
Thank you very much. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I am Lauren Court, Director of Channel Sales at Glassdoor. where our mission is to help people everywhere find the jobs and companies they love, and in doing so, help organizations win the war on talent. We have a community that has become the most trusted and transparent place for today's candidates to search for jobs and to research companies. Our 23 million plus users have contributed over 6 million pieces of content to the site. Things like salaries, company reviews, CEO ratings, etc. This spans across 300,000 companies who are represented, 190 countries, a really robust platform that you can find on Glassdoor. So I'm sure we've all used Amazon, Yelp, TripAdvisor, something of this nature. If you can review it, people will. There are reviews on Amazon for lint brushes, something that people will use maybe 2 minutes of the week. So certainly a career where you're spending 50, 70, 100 hours of your week, it's important. People want to make the right decision. And we all know how it is in the interview process. Everyone's on their best behavior, sitting up straight, and you get into it a little bit and you kind of see that your expectations really are a bit different than reality. Over half of candidates say, ugh, this didn't meet my expectations for 8, 12 weeks into the job. So by allowing this transparency and kind of breaking down these informational barriers that used to take place, candidates can make more informed decisions so that when they come to your organization, they're more productive, they stay longer, and everyone in this cycle kind of wins here. So great, that's what we do for candidates. How can you engage as an organization and benefit from this community? People are hungry for this information and they want to hear from you. Time and time again, when we survey our candidates, they say, yes, the employer opinion and feedback is vital to me, but I don't really trust it from the career site, okay? So by going to Glassdoor and becoming part of this conversation, embracing this transparency, you can promote your available positions as well as your employer brand to candidates. So for people for whom you're not part of their consideration set, you're not necessarily an employer of choice at this time, you can make sure that you're getting your jobs in front of those ideal candidates. How do we do this? We have a rich amount of data on the candidates coming to Glassdoor so that we can put the right job in front of that ideal fit candidate at the right time. Additionally, you have the ability to promote your employer brand. As I said, we have over 300,000 companies currently represented on Glassdoor. And you can say, this is why I'm an employer of choice. This is why I'm maybe a good fit for you. And this is what we're all about and why you should consider our organization. Okay? We do believe, however, that everyone, candidates and employers, have the right to this data and information, regardless of whether or not you're a paid client. So everyone in this room today can go on Glassdoor, sign up for a free employer account, and you'll be able to get analytics and insight, such as what you see here. Things like, who's looking at my profile? What are their demographics? Age, level of education, years of experience, top titles, top locations, and where are they going before and after they look at my profile? In other words, who am I competing with for this talent? Paid clients get to go a bit further. Everyone loves a good word cloud, so we do go ahead and aggregate the data and the reviews and show you what's working for your organization and the areas in which you may need to improve. You can then go and slice it and look by competitor and kind of stack rank yourself against different business areas. So you could say, great, we're doing really well on comp and benefits. That's a great feather in our cap and certainly important to candidates, but we're falling short with culture and values. I now have actionable insight that I can use as an employer to make a difference and improve my employer brand reputation. Okay? So the great thing about Glassdoor, one of the great things, is that we're not a niche site. We work across a number of industries and employer sizes. If you're hiring a banker, a software engineer, or a delivery driver, you can find exceptional results on Glassdoor. I'm sure like many of you in this room and my colleagues over here, we all love data, and we believe you can't manage what you don't measure. So to that end, We spoke with our 2,000 plus partners and clients and took a look at what results they were getting on Glassdoor. And we found 3 proof points that I'd like to focus on today. First being 2 times better applicant quality versus traditional job boards. What does that mean? It means on average, you're going to go through half the number of applications that you would somewhere else in order to get the same hire, saving you the hard costs and the soft costs that come with your time. 30% lower cost per hire. I'm sure none of you have gone to your teams and said, great news, I'm doubling your budget this year. No, quite the opposite happens to be true. I need you to do more with less. I need you to be leaner, more efficient, maximize ROI. You can do that on Glassdoor. And finally, the influence. We have the user-generated content. We have the insights that candidates are craving, and you can get, on average, 3 times more influence over those candidate decisions on Glassdoor. A couple examples. AppDynamics, 82% lower cost per hire than they had on LinkedIn. Enterprises made nearly 1,200 hires with us. We are their #1 channel. Mercy, we all know how difficult healthcare is. 1 week reduction in time to hire. And Box, I'm sure we heard millennials mentioned earlier. It's difficult. 60% of their candidates are using Glassdoor. So I invite you to embrace transparency and be a part of the conversation. Thank you.
Judges.
And yes, I would love to stay up here, as long as you'll have me.
Well, I figured by now we figured out the format. So, judges.
Sure, I have a question. Great
Sure.
stuff. Thanks for presenting. I want to know the conversion rate of people who start free and then upgrade to the version.
Sure. We have about 2,300 people right now a month signing up for a free employer account. As you saw from the presentation, we have over 2,000 paid clients. So the free employer account, it's been introduced about a year ago, and the adoption rate keeps getting stronger and stronger. So a lot of that is education, awareness, and then putting that, waiting for budgets to be available, waiting for fiscal years to start to make that conversion. So I don't have exact numbers for you, but that gives you a good sense of who's doing free versus paid.
Sure. Now, do you think this is going to be a challenge?
Well, certainly we have found success with the freemium model, that people, when they get a taste of it, it's going to help them make a decision. It's obviously one of the reasons that we're increasing our sales force dramatically, is to take advantage of those people who have raised their hand, expressed interest, but it's a growing thing, and we're working on it.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, Ilya.
Could you talk a little bit about your international expansion strategy and traction in terms of users and paying corporate clients?
Sure. About 25% of our traffic does come outside of the US. Top countries include India, the UK, Canada, et cetera. So it's certainly an area of focus for us. I'd say our 2 big areas of focus, international and mobile. Obviously, really important parts. So we have launched 4 international sites. Again, I just mentioned them, Canada, India, UK, Australia. We're looking at non-English speaking to be launched this year, specifically in a few European countries. And so it's part of our focus, but right now it's the US and those 4 other countries. Obviously, anyone anywhere in the world can get to Glassdoor.com. They have their own country-specific domain.
I think it's a neat model, very disruptive. I've watched it since you guys launched the business. But one real basic question I'm never quite sure I got was how do you ensure the anonymous kind of reviews are really representative?
How are they representative?
Representative of the actual.
Sure. That's a great question. About 60% of the reviews are from current employees and 40% from past. So that right there is giving you a nice insight into this is what it's like now versus this is what it was like when I used to work there. And what's interesting is people will sometimes say, well, wait a minute, are you just a rant site? But 70% of the people on our site say they're okay or satisfied with their job. The average company rating is between 3.2 and 3.3 out of 5. Average CEO rating is 69%. So because we have a large volume, obviously we can get that average representation there to give you a more realistic look. And it's one of the things that we work on with clients, is helping them engage their workforce so that they don't just have a handful of reviews kind of skewing the data there. We help them get that going.
Do you have a consumer commercial model on the roadmap? Are you going to try to commercialize the accounts for the people who make comments as employees or as past employees? Is there anything on the roadmap there?
We certainly have a B2C team, we have a B2B team, you know, and we have both of those houses in sight. I obviously work on the B2B side of things, and it's in terms of monetization, that's our focus right now. So I can't speak to that specifically at this point.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Lauren Court from Glassdoor.
Thank you.
And by random generation, our final entrant into this year's ITalent competition, Michael Beygelman, CEO, Joberate.
Thank you. Does this work? I don't know how I got stuck going behind Jibe and Glassdoor. Sorry, it was definitely not random. Anyway, thank you for having me. My name is Mike Beygelman. I'm the CEO of a company called Joberate. Here we go. Okay, so real quick, just to kind of what we do and what our passion is. Our goal is basically to help society understand job-seeking behaviors. And it's a little bit different. I kind of sat through 4 sessions, and I heard a lot of people talking about predictive analytics. And my one takeaway is it's become like the new RPO term. Like 8 years ago, everything was RPO. Suddenly, everything's predictive analytics. So somehow I have to adjust my presentation not to use that term, because you've all heard it like 39,000 times. So if I drop it, I'm asking you for forgiveness now. But anyway, so we have built some machine learning technology that basically connects via web services and API. And it basically, it allows us to feed information sort of like a data service. So if anybody subscribes to like a Dun & Bradstreet or a Reuters and you understand how data services work, so this is kind of the concept that we've developed. And so let me kind of go on. Some of the problems that we're addressing, and I'll kind of show you some eye candy later, but some of the problems that we're addressing is kind of tackling the attrition problem. There's a ton of data out there that you could Google in 2 seconds and realize that about 70% of the people would entertain a conversation for a new job. Right? Maybe that number has grown, but the access to potential new employment opportunities, has become much easier than it was before. So anybody's willing to listen to a new job. And you could Google and you could find various data points from Time Magazine, CBS News, and et cetera. I don't want to bore you with all the data, other than to say all of you know that it's expensive to replace people that leave. It's not just the IP that walks out the door, it's the actual hard costs that are associated with it. And it's really interesting in going to these conferences for the last 15 years, what I realized is a lot of really cool tools, but at the end of the day, most recruiting starts with a CV and a profile. And really, other than that data, we don't really have anything else to base the next steps on. So the first call always comes as a result of reviewing some piece of information. But really, recruiters have no more actionable information other than that, by and large. So why do these problems exist? It's kind of the real question. In 1986, we started tackling these problems. In 1996, we started tackling these problems. In 2006, we started tackling these problems. 2014, we're still trying to tackle these problems. There's something happened, though. There's a kind of a cultural shift that's going on now. And it's interesting. I have kids, and my son's 16. He did something called DECA. Anybody know what DECA is? It's cool, right? It's basically they dress up in suits and 16-year-old boys and girls go to a hotel for a weekend and they play business. So of course my son's really smart. He won the written test and he comes home and he's like, but I failed the interview. So I almost broke out in tears. I said, I'm in the recruiting business. How could you possibly fail the interview? He goes, well, don't worry, everybody else failed the interview too. He actually won the competition because everybody failed the interview. So I'm like, I really took an interest. I said, why that happened? He said, well, first of all, the lady wouldn't shut up, right? Number one. Number two, she never asked me anything about me. She's talking about herself. She took absolutely no interest in me. So I showed no interest in her. I literally, excuse my language, pissed my pants. It was the funniest thing I've ever heard. And I said, holy crap, this is the next generation of the workforce. And everybody did the same thing. He wasn't the only one that bombed. He qualified to go to the Nationals. It's crazy. And they all had 30 minutes to prepare for an interview. You cannot make this crap up, right? It's amazing. So what's happened is we're in the middle of a cultural shift. Companies today have oodles and oodles and oodles of HRS, which is the internal information data. But the problem is there's even more information external to the company that you have no access to. Unfortunately, and this is really bad news for HR departments, the external information has actually become way more important than the internal information. And it's the external information that actually there's really no visibility to anything like that. We've all heard about big data, and every session talks about it. But I will say the big data actually has become a tremendous disruptor for HR. If you look at the money flows in both the venture capital investment and within a corporation, every CFO and every CEO is going to tell you, I need you to move my company from I think to I know. In very, very simple terms. And this thing called digital footprint and social data has kind of disrupted all that in terms of HR. Right? And it's created a really big problem. So, by the way, you also know big data is a problem because now there's cartoons about it. So unless you have a Dilbert, it's not really a problem. But now that you have a Dilbert, it's really a problem. Okay, I'm kidding. But there is a Dilbert. There's a lot of Dilberts about big data. You should check them out. By the way, somebody told me that every HR presentation had to have a pyramid with bubbles and an arrow. So I said, crap, how do I work in pyramid, bubbles, and an arrow into this presentation? So hopefully I found a way to do that. So here's my pyramid, bubbles, and arrow. You know, predictive analytics sits at the top, and basically what it talks about is what can happen. Everything else before that is just data. And we see 58,000 products from Tibco, Spotify. I could go on and on and on. They're just data presentation. It's the actual data that's important, and there's 58,000 dashboard products that could show you that data in a really great way. So the easiest way to describe what is a real predictive analytic as opposed to just a good analytic with really good user interfaces, it's called a FICO score. Right? That's a great predictive analytic because that happens in real time. And it's probably not wrong often. Right? And the fallacy in traditional HR, which is just relational data analysis, to say because I live in this house and my neighbor lives in that house and my credit score is 740, that means my next door neighbor is also a good bet. But that's not true. And that's what happens often when you simply do data aggregation and relational data analysis. So we build some machine learning stuff that really, in very simple terms, it tracks data, it validates the data, it learns from the decision that it makes, it goes back, it really tracks data, learns from the decision it made, it stores all those decisions, and eventually you get to a point where it's like the FICO system, where the computer tells you what to do, as opposed to an individual saying, this is what I think we should do by reviewing these dashboards. So just a quick product overview. Everybody's got something that looks like this, so I didn't want to pop up a browser and show you everything that everybody else could show you. But essentially, this is kind of a cool view. You could get a business level view and to say, okay, these are all the different blips, and by the left-hand column, if you see over there, you could create what we call these talent pools. And in this instance, I just created business unit, job function, et cetera. And you could see by color coding, you know, how many people are at risk for leaving, whether that risk is going up or down. You could look at total number of employees. Here you could look at employees by country. You could see who's content, who's at risk, who's exploring other opportunities. You could look at the individual level.
Thank you, Banks. Yeah, questions. No comment. Questions for our investors.
So, Mike, I think if I would boil it down to one or two interesting thoughts, I think the FICO score for hiring would be a gold mine. And I've been thinking about that model for a while. A good friend of mine developed the FICO score, actually. But can you talk a little bit about the revenue model? Just how do you make money?
Yeah, sure. So our revenue model is simple. We license data. So our thought process was this, is that by talking to most companies, we realized most of them have some kind of a reporting package, whether it's through Oracle, whether it's through Tibco, whatever it is. Most people have some kind of, at the enterprise level. In the mid-market, they don't. So we basically have two models. One model is we license you the data via API, and you could feed Workday, you could feed SuccessFactors, or whatever is your favorite HRIS system. Because that platform already exists, and we say, here's the data, you do what you want with it. The other product is a SaaS standalone portal, which I'm showing you, which is really kind of designed for the mid-market. It's a data licensing model. The cost on an annual basis will range anywhere between $40,000 and $180,000. That's basically what it is. It's no different than when your CFO licenses data from Dun & Bradstreet for credit scores for companies. Kind of like that model. So it's really simple.
Any other questions?
I know that you have some operations overseas, and so I'm curious on what your data privacy model looks like for your SaaS solutions in the EU. You and I both know that's a complex issue, so you can talk a little bit about that for sustainability purposes.
Yeah, it's interesting to say. We just engaged an attorney to help us sort through that. What's interesting is our business model to some extent may mitigate that, but I'm gonna just kind of give you where we are today. So the thought process around the HR side, because we basically have two products. We have one product for HR that tracks your internal employees, and we have one product for recruitment that tells you who you should call first, right? Pretty simple. So the HR side's simpler because the data's kind of already there. So we're not actually looking at it. The recruitment side, we're kind of investigating. But at the end of the day, we don't take anything that's not public. So that's really key. And the other thing is, and I wanted to say, and I didn't get this in, so thank you for opening the thing. We don't actually scrape data. There's a lot of companies, especially startups in Silicon Valley, that simply take data. And a lot of them have gotten shut down, and you know some big ones. I'm not going to mention names. Because they simply aggregate data, they take data, the data doesn't belong to them, Google or LinkedIn get pissed off, and they sue them. So it's really important to actually get paid data. So we get our data from paid data sources, like PIPL.com, DataSift, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really important.
Any other
Kind of
questions?
built like that from the ground up.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
So to reiterate the order, we had Mike Hennessy with Smashfly, Joanna Weidenmiller from OnePage, Joe Essenfeld from Jibe, Warren Court from Glassdoor, and Michael Beygelman from Joberate. Judges, I'll let you tabulate your allocations as a reminder. You have 100,000 shares. You can invest accordingly across the properties, including giving 0 or the entire allocation of 100,000 shares to a company. The only actual rule is that you can't split it and you have to allocate all 100,000. I'm terrible at math, so big data scares me, so please double check. Okay, so that was really, really hard for me to do. And the reason why is I was gonna stand up here and be like, these are really cool, awesome technologies at the beginning. I think that they speak for themselves. And so one of the most interesting parts of my job is having moved from the practitioner side to covering the space, you really get a differentiated pitch between the sales pitch and certainly the investor or PR pitch. And I think it's a very valuable opportunity to be able to hear some of the questions that they're being asked by people who are actually funding these companies at this point in time. I would encourage certainly for you to go and look at all of these products. We did quite a lot of due diligence. There are a lot of companies in this room who have come up repeatedly as technologies who have entered and did not make the final cut. They were all chosen, obviously different stages of maturity, different numbers being thrown out, based on the criteria that they are not publicly traded and that they add value and that there's a market for them. So these were the creme de la creme, and I am a Gen Y employee. So that said, I know that everyone gets a trophy is kind of like what we do, right? But that said, I just want us to all give a hand for our five presenters. They did quite a lot of work to get here today, and I'm really impressed. Furthermore, I also have learned that you can get a lot of information into a 7-minute pitch, so please, any other vendors in the room, let's go ahead and not do hour-long briefings anymore. So, judges, still need some time? Okay. Cool. So I do apologize for that lull. And that said, all the math tabulated, and we made sure it's even. Before I announce the winners, and Debbie has recused herself, if you could, I'm just going to go down the line, starting with Elaine. Elaine, can you tell me why you allocated your investments the way that you did?
When I looked at each of the solutions and what they had to offer, I focused on where I think the market is going, what I understand for technology, and the true business drivers and the needs. So my allocations were based on on what I think this next year and the year and a half is going to bring into recruiting.
Okay. Andrew.
So I obviously I have my own data business. So I looked at, how would I invest the money directly? I was looking at sustainability of the solution and the competitive elements that are going to be brought to bear probably over the next 24 months. And then actually viability versus ease of use, and how quickly people could commercialize or buy this. And so those are my big drivers.
I really focused more today, and maybe just the mood I was in, but what was new? I've seen a lot of incremental change, and it's so hard to differentiate in the marketplace among vendors. I was just looking today, like, what's new? I want to be excited about a new opportunity, what's like new to the world and a big market opportunity. So that's the way I voted today.
All right, Ilya.
Well, I was mostly concentrating on three main things. One, disruption, two, scalability, and three, possibility of potential good future returns, financial returns.
All right. And finally, Ms. Bull.
Yeah, I was looking into problem solving. What's the biggest problem solver, as well as usability.
Great. So without further ado, there were some interesting outliers, I will say, in tabulating these, but if that all seems subjective and arbitrary, welcome to the world of financing. But that said, conditions were kept the same, and judges did not confer during their allocations. So, in third place in the 2014 ITalent competition, one-page proposals. Joanna, please come up to the stage. Congratulations. Outstanding job. Yes, I'm sure there will be a photo op if you want to just stay up here. Number 2, the runner-up for the 2014 ITalent competition, Smashfly. And congratulations to Smashfly, second place winner. And in a very, very, very close tabulation, the winner, and you heard the judges' criteria, I am pleased to announce that the winner of the 2014 ITalent competition, Joberate, Michael Beygelman. Congratulations, Michael. Let's give a hand to all of the competitors. And that said, there was only a matter of 5,000 shares that separated Jibe and Glassdoor from standing on the stage. So very, very, very thin margins, but the tabulation was consistent. So congratulations again, and your 2014 ITalent competition.